Subscribe for more thrilling stories. The city lights flickered through the rain-soaked streets as Emma stepped out of the taxi, clutching her coat tightly around her. The night was cold, sharp enough to bite through her nerves, yet she felt an odd thrill coursing through her veins. Tonight was supposed to be just another business trip, a hotel, a meeting, a quiet dinner, but fate, she suspected, had other plans. She entered the lobby of the grand, glass-fronted hotel, the kind that whispered luxury and power, where people with money and influence walked with an air of untouchable confidence. Her heels clicked on the polished marble floor as she approached the front desk. "Reservation for Emma Collins," she said, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. The concierge smiled politely and handed her a keycard. "Suite 1402. Enjoy your stay, Miss Collins." As she rode the elevator up, Emma tried to steady her thoughts. She had no idea who she would be meeting tonight. The invitation had been anonymous, a simple card slipped under her apartment door. "Tonight, you will understand why I cannot stay away." Her heart had leapt when she saw it, a mix of fear and curiosity consuming her. Who would dare to say something so bold, so intimate, and so frighteningly direct? The elevator chimed, and she stepped into the suite. The room was enormous, floor-to-ceiling windows, soft golden lighting, and a view of the city that made her breath catch. And there he was. He didn't stand or offer a greeting. He just leaned against the balcony, tall and imposing, the shadows of the night tracing the lines of his face. His dark eyes caught hers, and for a moment, Emma felt as if he could see every thought she had ever tried to hide. "You're here," he said finally, his voice low, smooth, and commanding. "I was beginning to wonder if you would actually come." Emma swallowed hard. There was something magnetic about him, something dangerous that made her skin tingle. She had no idea who he was, yet every fiber of her body recognized the pull. I came," she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. He stepped closer, and the room seemed to shrink around them. She could feel the heat radiating from him. His gaze didn't leave hers, and then, softly, almost as if letting her in on a secret, he whispered, "You're mine." Emma's heart jumped. She wanted to step back, to run, to scream, and yet, a part of her thrilled at the claim, at the certainty in his voice. It was possessive, yes, but not cruel. It was intense, a force that seemed to demand surrender. She felt herself trembling, caught between fear and a desire she couldn't name. He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face, and she shivered. His fingers lingered longer than necessary, tracing a path down her cheek. The electricity between them was undeniable, dangerous, and intoxicating all at once. "You don't have to understand now," he murmured, his lips brushing her ear. "Just trust me tonight." Emma's pulse raced. She knew she should push him away, refuse the temptation, but her body betrayed her. Every nerve ending screamed for him, and the fire in his eyes made it impossible to resist. She took a hesitant step closer, drawn light stretched before them, filled with a tension so thick it was almost tangible. The city outside continued its indifferent hum, unaware of the drama unfolding in the suite high above. And as he closed the distance between them, Emma realized one thing with terrifying clarity: nothing would ever feel the same again. Fear, desire, excitement, all tangled together, consuming her in a way she had never imagined. And she knew, deep down, that this night was only the beginning. The night had settled like a velvet curtain around the city, and the suite felt like a world apart, untouched by the chaos outside. Emma's mind was spinning, her pulse still racing from the words he had whispered. "You're mine." Those 3 words echoed in her head, at once thrilling and terrifying. She told herself she should leave, should demand answers, but every instinct in her body told her to stay, to see what this dangerous night would bring. He finally moved, stepping back slightly, giving her the smallest space, yet still dominating the room with his presence. Emma noticed the faint scent of his cologne, something warm, with hints of sandalwood and spice, that made her head swim and her thoughts scatter. She could feel his eyes on her, analyzing, reading, claiming, and it unnerved her more than she cared to admit. "I'm not usually like this," he said, his voice calm but with an undercurrent of something darker, something raw. "I don't just take what I want." He paused, letting the words linger. "But there's something about you I can't ignore." Emma swallowed, her lips dry. She wanted to ask him why, who he was, what made him think he had the right to speak to her like that. But the questions died in her throat, silenced by the pull of his gaze, the heat radiating off him like a tangible force. She found herself taking a cautious step closer, drawn despite herself, like a tide pulling her into unknown waters. He noticed, of course. A small, almost imperceptible smile tugged at his lips. "Good," he murmured. "I like it when you come to me willingly." Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. The words, the tone, the intensity, they all struck her like lightning. She wanted to run, she wanted to resist, but the desire, fierce and unrelenting, rooted her to the spot. Something in him commanded attention, demanded surrender, and Emma realized, with a mixture of fear and thrill, that she was already under his spell. He moved closer again, and this time there was no space between them. Emma could feel the warmth of his body, the strength of his shoulders brushing hers, the faintest whisper of his breath on her neck. Her mind screamed caution, but her body betrayed her, responding to the heat, the tension, the undeniable magnetism that pulled them together. "I should know your name," he said, his lips hovering dangerously close to her ear. "I should know everything about you before this night goes too far." "Emma," she whispered, barely audible. Her fingers curled around the fabric of her coat as though it could anchor her sanity. "Emma Collins." He repeated it, savoring the sound of it, letting it roll over his tongue as if committing it to memory. "Emma," he said again, softer this time, almost reverent. A beautiful name for a beautiful woman. Her cheeks burned, a mixture of embarrassment and something deeper, a heat that spread through her chest and stomach. She wasn't used to attention like this, not this intense, not this consuming. And yet, she couldn't deny that it excited her in ways she hadn't expected. He reached out, gently brushing a hand along her jawline, tracing her cheek with a tenderness that contrasted sharply with the possessiveness of his earlier claim. "Do you feel it?" he asked, his voice low, velvety. "The pull between us, the inevitability of this." Emma's lips parted slightly. She didn't answer with words. She couldn't. The pull was undeniable, raw, magnetic. She could feel it in her fingertips, in the small shiver that ran down her spine when his hand lingered a fraction too long. It was frightening, yes, but it was also intoxicating, the kind of feeling that could make her forget caution, forget the world outside. He leaned in, and she could feel the warmth of his chest against hers, the subtle tension in his arms, the unspoken promise in his proximity. Emma's mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, and yet none of them seemed to matter. All that mattered was the closeness, the intensity, the thrill of standing so near to someone who seemed both dangerous and impossibly right. "You don't have to say anything," he murmured, his lips brushing the side of her neck. "Just feel. Let yourself feel what's happening here tonight. Let it happen." Emma shivered, unable to resist, unable to think clearly. Her fingers trembled as they hovered near his chest, unsure whether to touch or retreat. Her heart felt as if it might leap out of her chest entirely, pounding in response to the electricity between them. Minutes, or perhaps hours, passed in a suspended haze of heat, tension, and unspoken desires. She didn't know how long they had been standing like that, inches apart, breaths mingling, eyes locked. All she knew was that the world outside had vanished. There was only him, only the magnetic pull, the danger, the thrill, the undeniable force of something far bigger than either of them. Finally, he stepped back slightly, giving her a moment to breathe, though the air between them still crackled with tension. "Tomorrow," he said softly, almost as if speaking a secret meant only for her, "we'll begin to unravel everything. Tonight is just the start." Emma's mind whirled. She didn't know what that meant, or who he really was, or why he had singled her out of the countless people in the city. And yet, a part of her thrilled at the mystery, the promise, the danger. She realized she wanted to know more, wanted to be drawn further into the orbit of this enigmatic man who had claimed her with 3 words and a whisper. Her pulse still racing, Emma finally spoke, her voice barely steady. I don't know what's happening," she admitted. "That's exactly it," he said, a faint smile playing at his lips. "You don't need to know yet. You only need to feel. Let yourself feel it, and trust me to guide you." Emma nodded, uncertain, nervous, and exhilarated all at once. She didn't know what the night held, what secrets would be revealed, or how far this dangerous, intoxicating connection might go. But she knew one thing with perfect clarity: nothing would ever feel the same again. And as the rain continued to patter against the windows, the city alive with its indifferent hum, Emma realized that she had crossed a threshold she could never return from. Fear, desire, and a heady mix of curiosity and longing had tangled themselves around her heart, and she wouldn't, untangle them. The night was only beginning. The hours slipped by, unnoticed, as Emma sat on the edge of the luxurious bed, her mind racing. She could still feel him, the lingering warmth of his presence, the magnetism that had pulled her so completely under his spell. Every word he had whispered, every subtle touch, replayed in her mind like a tantalizing, dangerous melody she couldn't stop humming. She tried to reason with herself, tried to remind herself that she didn't even know who he was, yet her body remembered every second, every brush of skin, every electric pull of desire. Suddenly, the room felt smaller, more intimate, as if the walls themselves were leaning in to eavesdrop on the tension between them. He reappeared, moving with that smooth, controlled confidence that made it impossible to look away. He didn't speak immediately. Instead, he circled her slowly, his gaze devouring her with a mix of hunger and reverence. Emma felt both exposed and protected under the weight of it, a contradiction that made her heart pound. "I could watch you all night," he said finally, his voice low, almost a growl, yet edged with a tenderness that unnerved her. "But I won't. Not yet." Emma's stomach twisted. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or disappointed. She wanted to resist him, wanted to find the logic in stepping away, yet every instinct screamed that walking away would be impossible, even if she wanted to. "Why me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Why now? Why like this?" He paused, his expression softening as he crouched slightly, bringing his face closer to hers without touching her. "Because you're the only one who sees me differently," he said, a vulnerability beneath his usual commanding tone. "Everyone else fears me, judges me, keeps their distance. But you intrigued me from the moment I noticed you." Emma blinked, stunned by the honesty in his eyes. She hadn't expected it, not from someone so powerful, so intense. She wanted to speak, to ask more, to probe into his world, yet words failed her, leaving only the fluttering of her heart, the sharp awareness of every inch of space between them. "You don't have to understand," he continued softly. "Not tonight. Just, let me show you. Let me make you feel what you can't see in words." Emma's chest tightened. The combination of fear and desire twisted inside her, each heartbeat echoing the tension between caution and surrender. She wanted to pull back, wanted to remind herself of the boundaries she had always maintained. And yet, the magnetic pull of him was undeniable, irresistible. Her body remembered the heat of his touch, the electricity of his whispered words, and it longed for more. He extended a hand, and she hesitated before finally placing hers in his. The contact was electric, sending shivers up her arm and deep into her chest. She felt grounded and unsteady all at once, suspended between the reality she knew and the intoxicating world he was drawing her into. "Emma," he said, his thumb brushing over the back of her hand, "do you trust me?" The question hung in the air, simple yet loaded with weight. Emma's throat tightened. Could she trust someone she barely knew, who had already stirred emotions she didn't fully understand? And yet, a part of her wanted to say yes, wanted to surrender to the magnetic pull that had her trembling in ways she had never experienced before. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "That's fine," he murmured, stepping closer until their bodies almost brushed. "You don't have to know yet. Feeling is enough. Tonight, that's all I ask." Emma's pulse accelerated, her breath coming in shallow bursts. She could sense the tension in his stance, the restrained power he wielded without effort. She realized, with a shiver, that he didn't just want her. Physically, he wanted her completely, body and mind, and she found herself unable to resist the gravity of it. He circled her again, slow and deliberate, each movement making the hairs on her arms stand on end. Emma felt as if the room itself was alive, responding to the electricity between them. Every instinct screamed caution, yet desire coursed through her veins, an undeniable force that made her knees weak and her thoughts scatter. I need you to feel safe, he said suddenly, stopping behind her. His hands hovered near her shoulders, almost touching, radiating warmth. Even in fear, you need to feel that you can trust me. That I'll guide you, not harm you. Emma turned slightly, her eyes meeting his in the reflection of the floor-to-ceiling windows. The intensity in his gaze was overwhelming, a storm she could neither predict nor control. And yet, there was something vulnerable beneath the intensity, a depth that made her want to reach out, to step closer despite the fear. I think I do, she whispered, the words shaky, uncertain, yet filled with a longing she couldn't deny. He smiled, faint but genuine, and took her hand again, this time leading her toward the balcony. The city spread out beneath them, lights sparkling like stars scattered on black velvet. The night air was cold against their skin, yet the tension between them burned hotter than anything she had ever felt. Look at the city, he murmured, not breaking the connection between their eyes. It's beautiful, isn't it? But it's small compared to what's about to happen here. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She didn't fully understand what he meant, and a part of her feared the unknown. And yet, another part of her thrilled at the promise, at the intensity of the moment, at the possibility of surrendering to something dangerous, something utterly consuming. He leaned in, close enough that she could feel his breath against her cheek, and whispered again, tonight is just the beginning, Emma. I promise you, nothing will ever be the same after this night. Her body responded instantly, a shiver running down her spine. The tension, the pull, the desire, it was overwhelming. Emma realized she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross, entering a world of passion, danger, and mystery she didn't fully understand but couldn't resist. As the wind whipped past them on the balcony, carrying the scent of rain and city streets, Emma understood one thing with frightening clarity: she was entangled in something far larger than herself. Something dangerous, something intoxicating, something that would consume her heart, her mind, and perhaps even her soul. And yet, even in that fear, she felt an irresistible thrill. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She didn't know his secrets, his motives, or the extent of his power. But she did know one thing: she was hooked, drawn into a world where fear and desire danced dangerously together, and there was no turning back. Tonight, Emma realized, was not just a night of whispers and fleeting touches. It was the beginning of a storm she could feel in every pulse, every shiver, every heartbeat, and one that would change her forever. The city below glittered like a sea of diamonds, each light a distant story, none as intense as the one unfolding on the balcony. Emma's fingers were still intertwined with his, their touch a lifeline between fear and desire. The wind tugged at her hair, tossing it across her face, and he reached out instinctively, brushing it back with a tenderness that sent another shiver down her spine. The duality of his presence, possessive yet gentle, left her dizzy, teetering on the edge of emotions she had never allowed herself to feel so strongly. I shouldn't be doing this, she whispered, her voice trembling. The words were almost lost in the soft patter of rain against the glass, but he caught them, his eyes darkening with intensity. And why not? He asked, his tone low, teasing, and yet under it lay an undeniable gravity. Because it scares you. Because it excites you. Because you feel like giving in and yet don't want to admit it. Emma's breath hitched. He could read her like an open book. Every hesitation, every flicker of longing, every tiny betrayal of desire was visible to him. She wanted to protest, to reclaim control, yet her body betrayed her, leaning into the magnetic pull that drew her ever closer. You're impossible, she muttered, half laughing, half breathless. And yet here you are, he replied, a faint smile tugging at his lips, unable to step away. Emma's heart raced. He was right, of course. She was unable to resist, and the knowledge both thrilled and frightened her. The intensity of the connection between them was overwhelming, yet it was electric, a force she had never experienced, something that made her feel alive in ways she hadn't thought possible. He leaned in closer, brushing a lock of damp hair from her face, his fingers lingering on her cheek. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the warmth of his skin, the faint scent of him that lingered like a spell. She knew she should pull away, should step back and reclaim the safe distance she had always kept between herself and the world, yet she didn't. She wanted to stay, wanted to feel every second of this dangerous, thrilling connection. Tell me, he murmured, his lips almost grazing her ear, do you ever feel like this with anyone else? Emma's mind raced. She had never felt anything like this before. Not with anyone. The intensity, the danger, the undeniable draw, it was unique, consuming. She shook her head slowly, the faintest whisper escaping her lips. No, never. He smiled, a flash of satisfaction, but it was tempered with something deeper, almost reverent. Good, he said softly. Because I'm not like anyone else, and this, what we feel, it isn't ordinary. The wind picked up, tugging at their clothes, and he pulled her slightly closer, shielding her from the chill while maintaining an almost unbearable closeness. Emma's pulse surged. Every nerve in her body was alight with the tension between them, the pull of desire and fear, the promise of something forbidden yet irresistible. You don't have to understand tonight, he said, his voice a low, intoxicating melody. You only need to feel. Let me take care of the rest. Emma's stomach tightened. His words promised both safety and surrender, an intoxicating combination that made her knees weak. She knew she was on the edge of something she couldn't step back from, yet a part of her thrilled at the unknown, at the adventure, at the danger of giving herself to someone so powerful, so enigmatic, so consuming. He took her hand again, his grip firm yet gentle, and guided her toward the bedroom. The suite, once a neutral, luxurious space, now felt charged with energy, every shadow and flicker of light heightened by the tension in the air. Emma's breath came in shallow bursts. She wanted to ask questions, questions about who he was, why he had chosen her, what this night meant, but she couldn't. Every time she tried, his eyes held her, and the words died on her lips, replaced by the raw, undeniable pull of desire. Once inside, he paused, standing close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him, yet giving her just enough space to breathe. The atmosphere was electric, a charged mixture of fear and longing that made Emma's pulse race in ways she hadn't thought possible. Emma, he said softly, a dangerous edge to his tone, tonight isn't about control. It's about discovery, about trust, about understanding what we feel when the world falls away. She swallowed hard, her chest tightening. The idea of surrendering, of trusting someone so completely, terrified her. And yet, the way he looked at her, the way he spoke, made the fear almost exhilarating. She wanted to lean in, to close the distance between them, to give into the pull that had her trembling from head to toe. You have to promise me something, he continued, his voice barely more than a whisper, that you'll feel what's happening without judgment. Without fear, without reservation. Just let it happen. Emma's lips parted slightly. She knew the gravity of his words, the weight behind them. And yet, a thrill coursed through her, a mixture of excitement and fear that made her heart race faster than ever. She nodded slowly, unable to speak, her hands still trembling in his. He smiled, the faintest curve of his lips, and moved closer, his presence overwhelming, magnetic, impossible to resist. Emma could feel the heat of him, the tension, the almost unbearable pull of desire that seemed to hum through the room. Good, he whispered, his voice low and intimate. Because nothing can be ordinary tonight. Nothing can be contained. You and I, we're on the edge, and you need to feel that edge before you understand everything else. Emma shivered again, caught between fear and a desire that left her breathless. She realized she had already crossed a line she could never return from, a line that left her vulnerable and alive in ways she had never experienced. And though the unknown ahead terrified her, she couldn't resist the promise, the thrill, the dangerous allure of the night. He leaned in even closer, and she could feel the warmth of his body, the intensity of his gaze, the unspoken promises in every movement. The room, once vast and elegant, felt like a cocoon, charged with electricity, with tension, with the undeniable pull of two hearts drawn together in a storm of passion and fear. Emma's mind spun, caught in the whirlwind of sensations, emotions, and questions she didn't yet have answers to. And as the night stretched on, as the city outside whispered in quiet rhythms, she realized something terrifying and exhilarating: this was just the beginning. The night had claimed them both, and there was no turning back. The night had deepened, the city lights below now blurred by the steady rain, and Emma felt herself sinking into a strange combination of exhilaration and apprehension. She had never experienced anything like this before, being in the presence of someone who seemed to command not only the room but the very rhythm of her heartbeat. Every word, every touch, every glance from him felt like a spark igniting something raw, something forbidden deep within her. He had moved closer, that magnetic draw impossible to resist. His hands were warm, his presence overwhelming, yet there was a gentleness beneath the intensity that both terrified and captivated her. Emma's pulse raced. She wanted to question everything, to demand answers about who he was, why he had chosen her, what this night truly meant, but every attempt at reasoning was drowned out by the electricity between them. Her thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. "You shouldn't feel this way," she whispered, her voice trembling, betraying both fear and desire. "And why not?" he replied, his tone low, almost playful but edged with danger. "Because it's unexpected. Because it's intense. Because it scares you." Emma's stomach knotted. He saw right through her, every hesitation, every flicker of longing, every thought she had tried to keep hidden. She wanted to pull away, to reclaim her control, yet her body responded to him in ways she didn't understand, ways she couldn't ignore. The magnetic pull between them was undeniable, a force she could neither fight nor resist. He smiled faintly, a curve of his lips that was both reassuring and dangerously intoxicating. "It's okay to be afraid," he said softly. "Fear is part of desire, part of passion. It tells you that what you feel is real, intense, worth experiencing." Emma's breath hitched. His words, his presence, the tension that wrapped around them like an invisible current, left her trembling. She had never felt such a combination of vulnerability and exhilaration. Every nerve in her body seemed alive, every instinct screaming both caution and surrender. He reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face, his fingers lingering on her cheek. Emma shivered, a mix of fear and longing coursing through her. The gentleness of the touch clashed beautifully with the intensity of his earlier possessiveness, creating a confusing, irresistible allure that left her breathless. "You don't have to understand tonight," he murmured, his lips close enough that she could feel his warm breath. "You only need to feel. Let it happen. Trust me to guide you." Emma's pulse quickened. Trust. She realized she had never fully trusted anyone like this before. And yet, there was something in his eyes, in the way he moved, in the undeniable force of his presence, that made her want to. Made her want to surrender to the storm, to the fire, to the irresistible pull that had already taken hold of her heart. She took a hesitant step closer, drawn like a moth to a flame she knew could burn her. He noticed immediately, his gaze darkening with desire and something softer, more tender, that unsettled her in the most thrilling way. "Good," he whispered, his fingers brushing against hers. "You feel it too, don't you? The connection, the inevitability of us." Emma's breath caught. Yes, she felt it. The pull, the tension, the unspoken promises and dangerous allure, it was all consuming. Yet fear lingered, whispering warnings she tried to suppress. She was stepping into unknown territory, a place where boundaries blurred, and every heartbeat threatened to unravel her. "I do," she admitted softly, her voice barely audible. "I feel it. I don't understand it, but I feel it." He smiled, a mixture of satisfaction and something deeper, almost reverent, crossing his features. "That's all I need tonight," he said gently. "Feeling is enough. Words will come later. Understanding will come later. For now, just feel." The rain outside intensified, tapping against the windows in a rhythmic symphony, and Emma felt herself drawn into a world suspended between reality and something intoxicatingly unreal. The suite no longer felt like a room in a hotel, it felt like a universe built entirely for them, a space where the rules of the ordinary world no longer applied. He moved closer again, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, the subtle strength in his body, the undeniable gravity of his presence. Emma's knees weakened slightly, her chest tightening as her mind struggled to reconcile fear with desire. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every fiber of her being craved his closeness, his touch, the intensity of their shared connection. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered again, though this time her words sounded more like a question than a refusal. "And yet you are," he murmured, his lips almost brushing hers. "Because you want to be. Because we both want this, even if we can't fully admit it yet." Emma's heart raced faster. He was right, of course. She wanted to be here, with him, despite the fear, despite the unknown, despite the danger that loomed like a shadow she could not see but could feel. The thrill of surrendering, of giving in to something so intense, made her pulse surge, her thoughts scatter, and her body ache with anticipation. He brushed his hand along her arm, tracing a path from shoulder to wrist, each movement deliberate, electrifying. Emma shivered again, unable to resist, unable to pull away. Her mind was a whirlwind of emotions, fear, desire, longing, curiosity, and yet, underneath it all, a quiet, exhilarating certainty. She was exactly where she was meant to be tonight. "You have to trust me," he whispered, his eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "Not just tonight, Emma, everything. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, the word almost choking in her throat. She didn't fully understand what she was agreeing to, didn't fully know the depth of the storm she was stepping into, but the pull was irresistible. She felt it in her veins, in her heart, in every nerve in her body. She was caught in a current stronger than fear, stronger than hesitation, stronger than anything she had ever known. He smiled again, a dangerous, intoxicating curve of lips, and took her hand, guiding her toward the soft glow of the bedroom. The air between them vibrated with tension, every movement charged with anticipation, every glance a spark threatening to ignite into something overwhelming. And as Emma followed, trembling yet exhilarated, she realized with sudden clarity, the night was far from over, the storm had only just begun, and the path ahead was both terrifying and thrilling beyond measure. The soft hum of the city below was distant, almost irrelevant, as Emma's thoughts spiraled with a mixture of fear, anticipation, and exhilaration. Each step she took toward the bedroom felt heavy with tension, yet her heart pounded with an unrelenting rhythm that matched his presence beside her. Every glance, every subtle movement, every breath between them was charged, a delicate dance of desire and restraint. She couldn't deny it. Something extraordinary was unfolding, a magnetic force she had never encountered before. He paused near the bed, his eyes scanning hers with an intensity that made her chest tighten. There was a quiet power in him, not just in his body, but in the way he claimed the space, the way he made her feel simultaneously safe and vulnerable. Emma swallowed hard, aware that she was teetering on the edge of something dangerous, something thrilling, and she could feel every nerve in her body ignite at the thought of what might come next. "Emma," he murmured, stepping closer, "you have no idea what tonight will demand of you, what it will make you feel." She shook her head slightly, unable to speak. Her thoughts were jumbled, her heart racing, her senses flooded with his presence. Every instinct screamed caution, yet another part of her, deeper and more daring, urged her to surrender, to follow the pull that had ensnared her from the very moment she had stepped into this suite. "Do you trust me?" he asked again, his voice low, resonant, a command wrapped in a question. She hesitated. The word, trust, hung in the air, heavy and loaded with weight. Could she trust someone she barely knew? Could she trust someone whose very presence consumed her, whose eyes seemed to see the core of her being in a single glance? Yet, as she looked into his gaze, she felt a strange certainty. She nodded, almost imperceptibly, though her pulse betrayed the storm of emotions inside her. "Good," he said softly, his eyes softening for just a moment, a vulnerability she hadn't expected. "Because tonight, trust is everything. Fear is natural, desire is natural, but trust will guide you through this." Emma's breath caught. Every word, every gesture, every subtle movement of his hands or lips seemed designed to unbalance her, to draw her closer into a world she couldn't resist. She was aware of her racing heartbeat, the flush on her skin, the tremble in her hands, and yet, she felt alive in ways she had never known. Every hesitation was met with a gentle encouragement, every doubt with an unspoken promise of safety, even amid the intensity that threatened to consume her. He stepped even closer, his presence enveloping her like a heat wave. She could feel the warmth of his body, the strength in his stance, the magnetic pull that made it impossible to think clearly. Her mind whirled with questions. Who was he really? What had brought him here? And yet, she knew that tonight, the answers were irrelevant. What mattered was this moment, the tension, the desire, the electrifying dance of closeness and restraint. His fingers traced a path along her jaw, down her neck, a touch that was deliberate, intoxicating, and entirely consuming. Emma shivered, her breath quickening, her body responding despite her attempts at restraint. She had never felt such a mixture of fear and longing, yet she couldn't deny the thrill that coursed through her, the undeniable pull toward him. "You're trembling," he observed, his voice soft yet charged with intensity. I can't help it," she whispered, her voice shaky. It's too much." He smiled faintly, a dangerous curve of lips, and brushed his thumb along her cheek. "Too much?" he asked. "Good. That's exactly how it should feel. Fear, desire, curiosity, they all belong together tonight." Emma's chest tightened, a mixture of excitement and apprehension threatening to overwhelm her. She wanted to question him, to demand explanations, to retreat, but her body refused. The magnetic pull, the electricity between them, was undeniable, and each movement, each touch, drew her further into a world she had no intention of leaving. He leaned in, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath, the subtle brush of his lips against her ear. "Tonight," he whispered, "is not about restraint. It's about discovery, Emma. About feeling every moment, every spark, every shiver, and letting yourself surrender to it." Emma's knees felt weak. The words, the tone, the tension, the closeness, it all combined into a force that left her trembling, aware that her heart, her mind, her very body had already been claimed by the intensity of the night. She wanted to step back, wanted to regain control, yet the pull was irresistible. She was caught in a storm of emotion, a tempest of desire and fear that threatened to sweep her away entirely. He circled her slowly, a predator and protector in one, each movement deliberate, commanding, yet tinged with tenderness. Emma's breath hitched with every step, her pulse racing faster than she could measure. She felt exposed, vulnerable, alive, and more aware of herself than ever before. Her thoughts scattered, replaced entirely by the tension, the heat, the thrilling uncertainty of what was to come. "You're already mine tonight," he murmured, almost reverently. "Not just in body, Emma, but in spirit. Every shiver, every heartbeat, every spark of fear and desire, you're already mine." Emma felt a tremor run through her. The words, the intensity, the truth behind them, it was overwhelming, yet exhilarating. She realized she had crossed a boundary she couldn't uncross, that she had entered a world where desire, fear, and trust intertwined in ways she had never imagined. He took her hand again, guiding her toward the bed, the soft glow of the room casting shadows that danced along their skin. The air between them vibrated with tension, charged with the electricity of unspoken promises and unrestrained longing. Emma felt her heart hammering, every nerve alive, every instinct screaming both caution and surrender. "Emma," he whispered, his lips barely grazing hers, "there's no turning back now. Not tonight. Not ever." Her breath caught. The certainty in his voice, the weight behind his words, made her body respond in ways she could neither control nor resist. She was suspended in a world of intensity, danger, and desire, and she understood, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that her life had already changed in ways she could not yet comprehend. The night had become a storm, a dance of shadows and whispers, of tension and longing, and Emma was caught entirely within its whirlwind. She realized, as she gazed into his eyes, that this was only the beginning, that the journey they had begun tonight would challenge, consume, and thrill her in ways she had never imagined possible. And as the rain tapped steadily against the windows, a quiet, intoxicating rhythm, she felt a shiver run through her. Not of fear alone, not of hesitation, but of anticipation, of desire, and of a dangerous, thrilling certainty. The night was far from over, and neither of them would ever be the same again. The storm outside had grown louder, rain lashing against the windows, wind rattling the balcony doors, mirroring the turmoil in Emma's heart. Inside the suite, the atmosphere was equally charged, electric with the tension between them. Every glance, every brush of skin, every faint touch carried a weight she could feel deep in her chest. The night had become a world unto itself, detached from reality, where fear, desire, and curiosity intertwined in a dizzying dance she could neither resist nor fully understand. He moved closer, and the room seemed to shrink around them. Emma could feel the warmth radiating from his body, the subtle strength in his stance, the unspoken command in every movement. Her pulse raced, her thoughts scattered, and yet every instinct told her to stay, to surrender, to trust the man who had claimed her heart and mind so completely. "You're trembling again," he murmured, his lips barely brushing her ear, sending shivers down her spine. "I like it. It's honest. It's real. It's you." Emma swallowed hard, feeling the truth in his words. She couldn't deny it. She was trembling, not just from fear, but from a desire she had never allowed herself to feel before. A longing that was dangerous, thrilling, and impossible to ignore. Every nerve in her body seemed alight, every heartbeat echoing the pull he had on her, the storm he had ignited within her. She started, her voice shaky, "I don't know what's happening. I don't know who you are, or why this is happening, but I can't stop feeling it." His eyes darkened with intensity, but there was a softness beneath it, a tenderness she hadn't expected. "That's the point, Emma. This isn't about understanding right now. It's about feeling. About surrendering to what's inevitable. And what's happening between us, it's inevitable." The word sent a thrill racing through her, a mix of fear and exhilaration that left her breathless. She wanted to ask more questions, to demand clarity, to regain control, but the magnetism between them was too strong. Every instinct, every cell in her body, pulled her closer, made her ache for the closeness, the intimacy, the intensity of the moment. He circled her slowly, a predator and protector in one, eyes never leaving hers, his presence commanding yet gentle. Emma felt her knees weaken, her chest tighten, her mind whirling with emotion and anticipation. Every step, every movement, every subtle breath between them was like a spark threatening to ignite into a fire she both feared and craved. "Emma," he whispered, voice low, intimate, "you have no idea what I've held back until now. No idea how long I've wanted this, wanted you. But tonight, nothing is held back. Everything you feel, everything you fear, everything you desire, it's all here. Between us." Her breath hitched, every word vibrating through her, stirring something wild and dangerous in her. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind whipping around her, the pull of the abyss both terrifying and irresistible. She wanted to step back, to resist, to reclaim her sense of control, but her body and heart betrayed her. She wanted him, all of him, and she couldn't deny it. He reached out, his hand brushing hers, tracing the line of her fingers with deliberate tenderness. Emma shivered at the touch, feeling the electricity leap between them, igniting a fire she could neither hide nor resist. Every heartbeat, every nerve, every fiber of her being seemed attuned to him, to the storm of emotion and desire that had engulfed them both. "Emma," he whispered again, his lips close enough to graze her cheek, "you're mine tonight, completely. And soon, I'll show you everything you didn't know you needed, everything you didn't know you wanted. But first, you have to trust me." She nodded, unable to speak, her pulse hammering in her chest. She knew he was right. Trust was the only way forward, the only way to navigate the intensity, the fear, the desire. And yet, a question nagged at the back of her mind, a quiet, persistent doubt she couldn't voice. Who was he really, and why had he chosen her? Before she could ask, he leaned in, capturing her lips with a softness that was almost shocking after the possessive intensity of the night. Emma's world tilted. Her body responded instantly, her mind overwhelmed by sensation, by the thrill of surrendering, by the intoxicating pull of the man who had claimed her so completely. She had never experienced anything like it, never felt so exposed, so desired, so alive. He pulled back slightly, just enough to let her breathe, and she could see the hunger and admiration in his eyes. "You're incredible," he murmured, voice low, reverent. "Every shiver, every glance, every heartbeat, it's all yours. Mine and yours, Emma." Her chest heaved. She felt the truth in his words, the intensity of the connection that bound them together. Every fear, every hesitation, every doubt seemed to fade in the heat of the moment, leaving only the raw, undeniable force of attraction and emotion that had consumed them both since the very first second she had stepped into this suite. And then, as if sensing her lingering uncertainty, he pulled back just enough to speak, his tone serious now, shadowed with something she couldn't yet place. "But there's something you need to know," he said softly. "Something I should have told you before tonight. Something that changes everything." Emma's heart skipped. She felt a jolt of apprehension, a flash of fear that this revelation might unravel everything, that the storm they had been building might crash down in a way she wasn't ready for. "What is it?" she whispered, her voice trembling, barely audible over the patter of rain. He hesitated, his gaze searching hers, as though measuring how much she could bear. I'm not who you think I am, he admitted, his voice almost breaking. And this night, tonight, it isn't just about us. There are truths, secrets, things you don't yet understand. And I need you to be ready for them. Emma's pulse raced faster, a combination of fear, anticipation, and excitement twisting inside her. She didn't know what he meant, didn't know what secrets lay beneath the intensity, the charm, the magnetic pull that had consumed her heart. And yet, a part of her wanted to hear it, wanted to face whatever truth he was withholding, no matter how dangerous or shocking it might be. Whatever it is, she whispered, her voice trembling but determined, I'll face it. I trust you. His eyes softened, a mixture of gratitude and relief crossing his features. Good, he said, his voice barely more than a breath. Because the night is far from over, Emma. And soon, everything will change. Everything you thought you knew will be shattered. And you'll have a choice, to step back or to surrender completely. Emma's chest tightened. She didn't know if she was ready, didn't know if she could handle the truth. And yet, the storm of emotion inside her, the fire of desire and fear, made her pulse race with anticipation. She knew one thing for certain, she was already caught in the whirlwind, already drawn to him in a way that defied logic, reason, and caution. The rain fell harder, a relentless drumbeat against the windows, and Emma realized that the night had transformed into something far larger, far deeper than a simple encounter. It had become a tempest, a collision of desire, fear, and truth that would leave neither of them untouched. And as she gazed into his eyes, seeing both the intensity and the vulnerability there, she understood. That whatever secrets he held, whatever revelations awaited, she would not turn away. Tonight had claimed them both. The storm outside had reached its peak, rain hammering against the windows, wind howling like a warning, but inside the suite, the world was theirs alone. Emma's heart pounded as she faced him, the man who had claimed her heart, her mind, and now, it seemed, her entire world. The tension between them had shifted, from teasing, thrilling anticipation to something deeper, more profound, a mixture of truth, vulnerability, and desire that neither could deny. He stepped closer, eyes dark, intense, and yet softened by an emotion Emma couldn't name. The air between them felt charged, thick with the electricity of everything that had transpired, and everything yet to come. She could feel the weight of his gaze, the magnetic pull that had drawn her to him from the first moment, and a shiver ran down her spine. She was trembling again, but this time, it wasn't just fear or desire, it was the realization that nothing could ever be the same. I need you to listen carefully, he said, his voice low, almost reverent. Everything I've withheld until now, it was to protect you. To protect us. But the truth cannot stay hidden any longer. Emma's pulse quickened. She had sensed it all night, had felt the weight of secrets in every glance, every pause, every almost touch. Now, the moment had come. Her stomach knotted with anticipation, her breath catching in her throat, but a part of her wanted the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. I'm not just someone you met tonight, he continued, his eyes never leaving hers. I'm part of a world that can't be revealed lightly. I hold power, influence, responsibilities that most people couldn't even begin to imagine. And my life, my choices, are complicated in ways that could put you in danger. Emma's mind spun. Danger. She had sensed it, felt it, but hearing it confirmed made her heart race even faster. And yet, she felt a strange calm beneath the panic, a determination to face whatever this man was, whatever secrets he held, because she knew she already trusted him in a way she had never trusted anyone. Emma, he said, stepping closer, his hand brushing hers again, tonight isn't just about desire or temptation. It's about connection, truth, and choice. I could walk away, but I won't. Because what we have, what we feel, it isn't something I can ignore. And I won't let fear, yours or mine, prevent us from embracing it. She looked at him, trembling, overwhelmed, and yet more certain than ever. She had been pulled into a storm of emotion, a whirlwind of desire, fear, and fascination, and now, faced with the truth of his world, she realized she wouldn't turn away. She wouldn't run. She wanted him, fully, utterly, without reservation. I don't care about danger, she whispered, her voice trembling but steady. I want this. I want you. I trust you. A flicker of relief and something darker, something protective, possessive, crossed his face. He closed the distance between them, capturing her lips in a kiss that was at once gentle and demanding, tender and intense. Emma's body responded instantly, every nerve alight, every heartbeat echoing the connection they had built, the tension that had been mounting since the very first whisper. The kiss deepened, slow, consuming, a mixture of passion and revelation, and Emma felt herself surrendering completely, abandoning all fear, all restraint. She had crossed the threshold, and there was no turning back. Every touch, every sigh, every movement was a declaration of trust, of surrender, of the undeniable bond they shared. When they finally broke apart, gasping for breath, their foreheads resting together, he whispered, "You're mine, Emma. All of you. And I'm yours. Whatever comes, we face it together." Her chest heaved, her heart racing, and she nodded, the enormity of the night washing over her. She realized she didn't need to understand everything, didn't need all the answers. What mattered was the connection, the trust, the raw, consuming emotion that had brought them together. She had surrendered, and she had chosen to stay, to embrace the unknown, to step fully into the storm with him. He smiled, faint but full of meaning, brushing his hand along her cheek. "Good," he murmured, "because nothing, no storm, no secret, no danger, can break this. Not now, not ever." The night stretched on, quiet now except for the rain outside, and Emma felt the tension ebb slightly, replaced by a warmth that spread through her body, her heart, her mind. The intensity had shifted, transformed from fear and temptation into something deeper, trust, understanding, and a bond that could not be broken. "You've changed everything," she whispered, her voice soft, intimate, reverent. "And you've changed everything for me," he replied, his lips brushing hers once more, a gentle seal on the promises of the night. "Tonight was only the beginning, Emma. But it's ours. Completely." Emma closed her eyes, letting the words sink in, feeling the truth in them, the gravity and the beauty of what had unfolded. She had stepped into a storm, yes, but she had chosen to face it, to embrace it, and in doing so, she had discovered a depth of connection, desire, and trust she had never imagined. The rain continued to fall, a soft, steady rhythm against the windows, and the city outside continued its endless hum. But inside the suite, in the quiet after the storm of emotions, Emma realized that she was exactly where she belonged, entangled in the world of the man who had claimed her heart, her trust, and her very soul. As they stood together, hands intertwined, hearts beating in sync, she knew one undeniable truth: whatever secrets the future held, whatever storms might come, they would face them together. The night had tested them, ignited them, and bound them, and nothing, neither fear, nor doubt, nor danger, could undo it. And in that moment, with the city lights shimmering through the rain-streaked windows, Emma surrendered fully, completely, utterly, to the man who had whispered 3 words that would forever change her life: "You're mine." The storm outside was fierce, relentless, unstoppable. But inside, a different kind of storm raged, one of passion, trust, and a bond forged in desire and truth. And for the first time in her life, Emma realized that surrendering wasn't a loss, it was a liberation, a choice, a beginning. Tonight had ended, yes, but their story was only just beginning.